Welcome back to the next episode of What's Your One More? You're dialed in for episode 268. I'm your host, Quinton Harris. In this episode, we're going to talk about where's all the inventory going? Why are more home buyers having more power now than ever before? And why are sellers retreating? All that and more in this episode of What's Your One More? So, hey, we're back. Welcome back to the show. A couple things to talk about here. Let's start with where's all the inventory going? I mean, right now we're at some of the most depleted inventory levels nationwide that we've seen in some time. And that's making it difficult for home buyers. You would think the home buyers have all the prospective buyers have all the power right now. You know, they're asking for incentives. They're asking for more things to be fixed during inspection. But the reality is, if there's not enough inventory, those home buyers can't take advantage of some of the options that are being given and bestowed to them in this market. And then you take a look at the sellers. What's going on? Why are more delistings happening right now? Why are more homes being taken off the market? Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. Number one, let's talk about the homes coming off the market. Why is that important? Well, sellers are listing these homes at prices that are probably unrealistic. You know, I think it's interesting when I see articles about home prices, not rising, not going up at these significant levels, but they're still going up. You know, they're going up at a slower pace than normal, but they're not depleting. They're not going backwards. And homes are being listed as if there's a combination of, somewhere in the middle between this normal rate of return and this accelerated post-COVID era we're coming out of. And let's face it, if you're going to list your home, you always think you want more for it than probably what it's worth. And in this environment, we're battling the lock-in effect. We're battling in, rise in oil prices, gas prices. There's a lot of inflationary measures being shown right now. People want to get more bang for their buck when they go to list something if they're going to be inconvenienced in moving. But the reality is, the buyers aren't matching that temperature. And so homes are coming off the market because people can't get what they want for it. We've talked about this numerous times on the show. Like, hey, if I'm going to list my home, like what the hell? Like, if I'm going to list it, I better get X for it. And if I don't get X, screw off, right? I don't need to sell it. I'm not in this situation where I'm forced to be out of the house. I'm in a situation where I'm comfortable around the payment. I'm in a situation where maybe I've got this imagery in my head that I'm going to net hundreds of $1,000s of equity that I have in there on this sale. And maybe it's comfortable for me to go make a move somewhere else, right? At this point, based on those other two things I just described. But when they don't add up, it's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I'll just stay where I'm at because no one likes to move. Let's face it, moving is not fun, right? But if I'm going to be inconvenienced, I'm going to do it. It better be worth my time, right? And then there's a buyer that comes into the market that's like, hey, I feel like this home's overpriced. I feel like I'm paying too much for this home. And the reality is, you're always buying at the peak, right? I mean, that's always the case. But let's go back to some other logic here. If you have buyers that have a little bit of power, saying, hey, will you pay my closing costs for me? Hey, will you help in discount, the rate with buy downs? Will you help with fixing things around the house that, I'd like for you to fix before I move in that are maybe, cosmetic, not necessarily structural, that aren't required by the lender or required by the loan? Sellers would normally be cooperative if the price is right. But in this market where people are trying to work down prices, or in this market where there's this battle, there's this battle line that's taking place between buyers and sellers, there's really just not that cooperation going on right now. And then the second thing of recent inventory, and this is probably one of the ones that I think is the most interesting. And I spent some time researching, going around different areas and looking at this. But we used to have a move-up buyer, right? So the move-up buyer is someone that would sell their home and say, I'm going to buy another home, list my home, move on, and buy up in a home, whether it's size of the property, family size, they would move up and go on. In this particular case, what's happening right now, and we've talked about this for the last 5 years, the lock-in effect has driven a different mindset around the country, meaning that your home that you currently live in has become not traditionally, it's always been thought of as like your largest investment. And, there's people out there say, hey, your primary residence is not an investment. And I see both sides of the coin here. But the reality is most Americans, their wealth is in their home, right? More so now than ever before. We have some of the highest equity rates ever on stage in America. So when that person goes to think about selling their home, they're also looking at the fact like, wow, I've got this locked in rate. I'm never going to get this rate again. Like, I'm just not going to get this probably in my lifetime. So why would I sell it? And in the past, when the margins of deciding to keep that home is based on renting and the margin's like $50, $150 a month, it's just not worth it to the prospective, new home buyers selling their home. They'll just sell it and move on. Now there's this reality of, I can net somewhere $500, $800 a month, sometimes $1,000 a month, just by keeping the current loan that I'm in right now and renting it out. Okay, well, I'm going to go buy another home, maybe put a home equity line on this one, put a down payment and keep this and rent it out and make that differential because I'm willing to do that at this point. I'm willing to say, hey, property manager, I'll hire or I'll do it myself, it's worth the squeeze at this point because of the amount of money being made. And they can do that because of the lock-in rates. We have more people converting their home into an asset than we've ever had before once they move out. That's restricting the inventory. So instead of having a home buyer that, moves up and sells and adds to the inventory level, you're having a home buyer that moves up and retains, rents, thus depleting the inventory. And that is a big thing happening in the market right now. Just a couple of headlines here I'd like to point out, and we'll jump on these just a second right after this commercial break. Today's episode is brought to you by Texana Bank Mortgage. They're coming to the table with a revolutionary product. It's called REMLO, Real Estate Mortgage Loan Officer. And what they are doing is they are taking real estate agents and they're taking loan officers, and for the first time in history, they're putting them together under one umbrella. They're actually taking two industries right now that sit on top of each other, and they're putting them together and backing it by a full-service bank licensed in all 50 states. So imagine this, you're not just an agent anymore, you're a full-service agent. You're the single trusted point of contact for your client in this entire process. You're seeing the loan and the home search front to end. It's going to change the dynamic of real estate and mortgage lending together. Now, if you're a real estate agent, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go to askaboutremlo.com. That's askaboutremlo.com. Because what you're going to find there are significant details about this program, how to enroll, and how to gather more information. So if you're ready to adapt and thrive, go to askaboutremlo.com. That's askaboutremlo.com. All right, so welcome back. There is a headline that's out right now by Lawrence Yun. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Lawrence Yun is the economist, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, also known as NAR. He actually said in his forecast, now it's a very, very timid forecast from the standpoint that, it's 25 years away, right? 24 years away. He said, get this, Charlie, by 2050, you know what the average home price in America he suspects is going to be? $1 million. For average, let that sit in for average. And the whole audience was like, oh, no way. Well, think about this. He said, let's go back to 1990. In 1990, the average home price in America was $100,000. And in 1990, if you would have told 1990 that today's average home price is $430,000, they'd have been like, no way. He goes, we're not that far away. He goes, right now, the average home price in San Francisco is over $1 million. He goes, there's not enough homes being built to offset the demand that's there. And even if you're using just moderate growth at 3%, you're going to get to that $1 million. So are we becoming so unaffordable and that's unattainable, or is income going to go beyond that? I mean, you're not outpacing inflation in the current market with that. But the reality is he set the tone that don't think you're going to go into these markets and just go get a steal. And I thought that was interesting because it adds to the flavor of the commentary we talk about is you're always buying at the peak. And recently, I've been asked to come back to my alma mater and speak to students about real estate and speak to them in regards to retaining wealth and financial literacy through real estate. Now, I love this because one of the questions I asked my alma mater was, well, do you have any real estate classes? And they said, we just started bringing them back by student demand, by the way. The students demanded these classes. That, to me, says a lot about home ownership and wanting to know about real estate. But what they're teaching them is essentially commercial real estate. There's very little residential real estate in there. And that was one of the questions I asked, like, why so little on residential real estate? They had some flavor commentary to add around that. But the reality is, it's interesting to me because I go back to this teens and real estate topic that we've talked about many times on this show, this passion project of mine. And I told these guys, I said, listen, I want the average student to know the day they graduate, the empowerment is in their hand to make the decision, not that of social medias, not that of the medias, not that of their friends and family, but theirs, right? And I want to show them and teach them ways to leverage and to obtain some of these homes that are available even before this price becomes $1 million in 2050. And I want them to understand that this is not so far out. And as I told this person, this person at the college, the average first-time home buyer is 40. That's ridiculous. We got to get that better, right? He said, man, you're literally like talking to me like in real life. And he gave me his story. I thought it was awesome. I appreciate him sharing this. And the bottom line was he became a homeowner at the age of 41, first-time homeowner at the age of 41. And he's like, literally, you're telling me my story right in front of me. I'm like, that's the thing. And he gave me reasons as to why that happened. And it was never financially unattainable. It was financial literacy. They usually start somewhere in the household with the mom and dad, very similar to mine, that it's not talked about, it's not, discussed, and it's not shown, right? And so a lot of these students, when they graduate, are in that same pool. But more importantly, they're being told that you got to wait until you're older. And the reality is that's not the case. So I'm very excited to get back to that. But that headline, Jeff, like $1 million by 2050. It's insane, right? And here's these people online telling us that home prices are going to drop, home prices are going to go down. And over the last 12 years, the doomers, as we like to say, have been preaching this. Where are they at? Guys, you are welcome to come on the show. All of you, we've heard it. Please come in, sit right here. You know, the Podfather will jump on here with you, and I will show you what's up with the charts that we have, because facts over fear. You can't beat me on that, right? But then this fear mongering draws audiences, and, you know, they don't want to listen to the facts about that. The other headline that I wanted to bring up here is that more real estate agents are quitting and mortgage originators are quitting than ever before in the business. Why? Because the average transaction counts are going down as far as the number of counts, and people say it's just getting harder. Yeah, I'd like to point out, you know, we have a terrific sponsor in Texana Bank who offers an amazing program that's called Real Estate Mortgage Loan Originator. That's REMLO, trademark product, but allows you to absolutely take advantage of all aspects as a real estate agent so that you don't have to quit, but become part of the origination team as well and be compensated for that. What a wonderful opportunity when many of your competitors are getting out of the business, as well as loan officers. The peak of loan officers, registered loan officers in 2021 was February of 2021. We are 40% below that now. 40% of the competition's gotten out, and real estate agents are quitting day by day. What an opportunity to get in here and take advantage of that. And then last but not least, this is one of my favorite ones. What's the most critical mistake that a future home buyer makes when they get into the market? Here it is. Ready? Front and center. First mistake they make is literally going into the property thinking you're going to get a better deal than what's on the table or what's on the sign or what's on the MLS. That you're going to go in and you're going to negotiate down the price of this home because you feel like you have the empowerment. Did you not just hear the stats we talked about? Did you not see any of the previous podcasts? There is not enough inventory for you to go in there with that mentality. Go in there. Homes in today's market are selling 1% below list price. 1%. Seller alert. Listen up here. If you price your home correctly, you're probably going to get people knocking down that door, thus driving up the price because you're listening it correctly. Listen to your real estate agents that are giving you that advice. They do know what they're talking about when it comes to that. They see more in the market than you do. Take advantage of that. It's a great opportunity. And for my other audience, I mentioned REMLO earlier. If you're not familiar with what that is, check us out at remloprogram.com. There is a tremendous amount of opportunity there. We are signing up people in this very successfully. Had one of our biggest months in the month of May 2026. Thanks to all of our REMLO agents out there doing wonderful things. I look forward to talking more about that. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, please 5-star review us. Check us out on YouTube. Smash up the like button, subscribe. We're so appreciative of all the comments you guys leave and all the feedback. It drives us to do more in this show, research more information. And hey, if you're going to be around the Knoxville area in the fall, come listen to what we're talking about with real estate, teens in real estate. It's a great opportunity. It's going to be a great moment to hear a positive message for once about real estate and not all this negative Nelly stuff that's out there. So till the next time, see you guys at the next episode of What's Your One More.
I got one more shot, I'm going to make it. One more chance, I'm going to take it. I meant it when I said it, now it's time for me to do it. I got one life to live, so I put my all into it, yeah.